literally.
It feels weird playing Magic without a companion, man. Like, I don't want to do it. I just like
7v8 is so rough.
Yeah, I'm in for more companions, guys. By the way, I just want more companions.
I'm gonna kind of stop this here because I want you guys to talk about this. Companion is interesting, right? Because on one level, it's like clearly format warping, like really like sort of like making us reassess how we look at Magic in every format. But I want to know, like, from your perspective, like, is this something you want to see more of? Because, like, I know the ones that we have in front of us are pretty broken, but, like, is this the way you want to play Magic? Like, because, you know, if there's companions in every set or companions every 2 set or whatever, maybe this becomes the way that constructed Magic is. Like, how has it been playing with them? Do you think they're too good? Do you think it makes games boring? Do you think it makes them better?
So I was talking with Chris earlier, and I said, like, Companion's the type of thing where, like, it's fundamentally changed the game so much that it would have been totally fine if, like, there was 2 or 3 companions in alpha and they'd print it, and now we had hundreds of companions to choose from. So for us, it just feels really new. It's like Magic sort of sidestepped into a different game that sidesteps with companions. Those games are, like, okay, and like and the reality is what it does is it makes decks more consistent because they have this like thing that happens every time. Yeah, that additional consistency is probably better for the game rather than worse. Like there are fewer non-games now, but there's just like this weird, really weird rule, which is like you have to be playing a deck that involves one of these 10 cards that they just printed 3 days ago. Magic's totally different now. So like I kind of like it. I kind of like companions, and I just think they like. There are fewer times you're like, oh, my deck didn't work. I didn't draw the right mix. Because, like, what do you mean? The right mix is right there, you know, every time. But it is, like, it's such a powerful mechanic that it's going to be ubiquitous. It's going to be in all of Magic the Gathering.
Well, I think that it's probably how people felt when they printed Planeswalkers, right? So there weren't that many Planeswalkers, and people felt like they were overpowered and going to ruin the game. So I feel like we had a similar consensus when companions were spoiled and at the beginning of this format. It would be cool. I did see on Twitter, I don't know who said this, but it would be cool if it was restricted to like Standard and Pioneer. That'd be cool.
Yeah, you know what I was going to say? I think it's my biggest problem with them right now. Yeah. And I'm definitely not in the camp of like they're like, and like this is horrible, like Magic sucks now. Like I think they've been fine to play with. You know, obviously Luris is too overpowered. Yorion potentially debatable, maybe others. But I think in eternal formats specifically, they're just bust. Like Luris is just every format is so good. You know, just with every any format, with Bubble or Lotus or whatever, like any threat. And I just wish they put like a little bit of thought into that. I know they don't test the eternal format.
I think that could just be a problem with Luris, though, not a problem with the mechanic. I think if they, I'm kind of hoping that they go like the way of the Planeswalkers, because I think that if they make like more of them, it'll be more interesting. I think one underrated aspect of them, actually, that came up a bunch when I was playing Pioneer, is the fact that they're kind of like pseudo open deckless. It feels like you get all the upside of open deckless without the downside. Where like your opponent either reveals a companion or not, and you get some information about that like influences your mulligans, which I think is really neat. Like I was playing a game with Sultai, and my opponent didn't reveal a companion, and I had mulligans 6, and I had a fatal push, and we started thinking like, no companion, that almost certainly means they're playing a slower deck, right? They're either playing Inverter or a control deck, but what other deck wouldn't have a companion? So I was able to like shove the push. So I think that's kind of an underrated aspect that I kind of like a lot.
Yeah.
Or you're just guessing what Luris deck is not going to play in the reveal. Is a non-zero thing. So, like honestly, some of the gameplay behind it, and honestly, the decision tree behind like, okay, there's this looming card that like I'm almost certainly going to have to deal with. That's an interesting sub-game of itself. That is, I think, pretty difficult to navigate, and probably one that a lot of players are going to screw up. I think it seems a lot more balanced in potentially the newer formats. But I might eat my words on that. Potentially, I don't know. It's new. So.
Yeah, I like that strategically. Like when Abe was like, "This deck is unique because it lets you jam your Luris," and like it reminded me of a time where like Jessica was watching me play and she was like, "Do we cast Luris here?" And I was like, "No, this is like we can never cast Lurrus until they're out of removal spells, and then we can cast Lurrus. And it's just like that's kind of interesting, right? Like the fact that like you know, there's this whole new facet of like now I have a big threat to jam and play with and be careful about. It's like pretty cool. Like I kind of like companions, but like it feels like Magic is now a game with companions, and there's no option for not that. Like there's no like if you're playing a deck that doesn't have a companion in it, there's like you know why. It's because you're playing Inverter, and like the deck is just a very specific like combo control deck that none of the companions happen to fit into, except maybe Garuda. But whatever, you don't have to play Garuda. No, because you need all the 1 mana spells. Yeah, none of the things happen to work. But like if they kept on printing companions, it would be kind of cool. It'd be like, all right, so you know you're playing Magic the Gathering. You know the first step when you're building a competitive deck is pick your companion, pretty much, and you're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I think the issue is mostly just with the specific companions that they printed, and these cards are just very strong. I think evidence of that is that people are just main decking Lurruses in random decks, like Ely was playing in his modern deck or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that is just really dumb, and I think that companions speak to a trend that's happening in Magic over a couple years, but it's just more sort of pointed and in your face, in that the games are about threats and the games are all about value. Especially in the last couple of years in Standard, even pre-companion, like in the Bant Mirrors or whatever it was, people just had a million cards and a million resources with Uro and all this, stuff, and it's, the game is, that's just what it is, and you're going to have 8 cards, and that's just how the game is anyways. This is just a more clear example of that, where you don't really have to work for it, and I think that that's okay, because it promotes these different kinds of interactions and different kinds of deck building restrictions and all these different cool design levers they can work with now, where you can really push the theme of a set or whatever. And I think that the Planeswalker example is good, and it's the same thing of people are going to get their value anyways, and I think that this is a healthier way than having to grind through something like a Planeswalker or Uro. I think just having a one-time, not repeatable source of advantage is pretty cool. I think that Planeswalkers are worse for the game than Companions are. I think they just create way worse gameplay patterns. I think Companions can create really good gameplay patterns if they're just, treated with caution.
How do you guys feel about it being in a separate zone? Like, it seems kind of hard to do otherwise, but obviously it creates some problems for gameplay. Mostly this card. It's just a really annoying aspect of it.
Thoughtseize has been the best card in every format it's been legal in for 15 years, so I think it's fine that it's got a little worse.
It creates a new thing too, if you make companions the norm, then you can create cards that interact with that zone even. We'll figure that out. I also think that something I've been thinking about generally is that, especially with companions, is that we just sort of have to change the way the interaction works, because the good, cheap interaction that people are actually playing in the last couple of years are kind of dumb designs, which are Mystical Dispute and Aethergust. And other than that, people aren't playing any other interaction, unless it's playing the first one, which is really usable. But I think that interaction's lagging really far behind with their designing threats, and I think the Companion's going to push them to, they're committing to this thing, so they have to reevaluate the way interaction works, whereas I think they need to make more tempo-based interaction that doesn't scale over time, because you have access to so many cards. It just fundamentally changes how the game is played, whereas now you have access to more cards. Your interaction doesn't have to interact one-for-one forever. I'd rather take a cheaper tempo-based interaction, which is sort of why Aethergust is really good. I don't know. But
I'd just like to add that, Edgar, if you ever speak about Thoughtseize that way again, I'm going to kick you out of my house.
I'll bring it, dude.
I think if they don't print more companions soon, it's gonna get really annoying, honestly, especially in Eternal formats.
I
hope that they have companions lined up in the next couple sets, or they ban companions soon, one of the two, because I don't want to sit for a year with 10 companions that are broken.
Yeah, I kind of feel like companions are fine and it's cool, but now there's only 10 avenues, and so if there are 10 in the next set, everyone will be like, oh, sick, there's 20 companions to choose from in Magic. And then there's 10 again, and then it just becomes an aspect of Magic that we're all comfortable with. And I kind of agree with Abe that I think it is sort of more interesting. I think it's cool to show somebody at the beginning of the game. When I played a modern league, I was playing Lurrus Burn, and everybody showed me a Lurrus, and it changed so much. It was kind of neat. And then Lurrus Burn mirrors ordinarily the burn mirror is so like whatever, but the Lurrus burn mirror is so interesting because like now everyone's trying to play the control role, and so honestly, I thought more in the Lurrus burn mirror than when I was playing blue white control mirrors in standard in terms of just like when to go for it.
Yeah, Pirate Spellbomb was nice tech.
Oh yeah, Pirate Spellbomb was sick in the sideboard, and you were like, okay, and now it's time. And you cast your Lurrus, cast the Spellbomb, so go.
I came up to Jeremy and was like, hey, I thought of some sick tech. And then he was like, oh, it's already in my deck.
Sorry, Evan. Evan did come up to me and was like, you should play Pirate Spellbomb in your Lurrus burn deck. And I was like, yeah, there's 2 in the board.
Yeah, every time our opponent played a core
I haven't been
Firewalker,
keeping
you had it. It was great.
on trend with the latest Lurrus lists. So.
I was waiting to get to Modern, but yeah, I've been playing Modern Burn, and I also had a Pirate Spellbomb in my deck.
Great minds, I think.
I mean, it was just
good shit, guys.
Good job.
it was kind of prescribed, I think. It wasn't like, it didn't take a genius.
Obviously, but
I also think it might be the case that if they do commit to companions, they're still going to have to ban a couple of ones they printed. Because I think that keeping on this power level would be really dumb.
They could make companions that counteract companions.
Gyruda winning the Legacy Challenge was kind of crazy.
Yeah, they kind of fuck up the Eternal format.
they're a mess, dog.
That's why they should ban them to Pioneer and Standard.
Like, Lurrus is pretty fine in Standard. It's not a problem.
The problem is card advantage. Like, if they printed 50 companions at the same power level, but none of them provided inherent card advantage, I think it would be okay. Like,
yeah.
The problem is that Magic is designed. I think that when me and Abe talk about things, we go a little bit too game design sometimes. But the problem is like I completely agree with Abe. The way that Magic is currently designed is so conducive to like games where you don't run out of the cards that when you create a companion that is inherently both cheap and provides incremental advantage, it makes it so that you can't play decks that rely on incremental advantage without it. So if you took Companion and said this is a mechanic that we're looking to move away from the direction of card advantage, I think we would be in a place where there's a lot of interesting axes that you could take decks, but it wouldn't pigeonhole you into forcing you into companions to be a card advantage deck. But the problem is like if you want to grind in any capacity against decks with 8 cards in their opening hand, you have to also have 8 cards in their opening hand.
Yeah. And with 8 cards on top of providing you like incremental advantage, like I think more just such a disgusting. Like
and with that, like Yorion, like your deck is just like synergistic with the card that is guaranteed every game, like
But at least that's a deck. At least that's like a deck building requirement.
That's
like Lurrus just says like if your cards die, this card is good.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's the problem. Like your 8th card draws you more cards. It's like your 8th card should be like just some dude. Like it's too much that
5
it's
mana 5/5.
Yeah, like yo, why the fuck does my companion draw me 3 cards? I'm already up a card. Like it's already so insane that Lurrus is just a 3/2 that like immediately draws a card in that battlefield. Like that's so sick. Like you can't feel good about interacting with that card ever.
Wait, throw one of your 3 bubbles in order to do that.
Yeah.
Humans playing the what's it called, the Jangtha or whatever, the red green guy.
Gigantha, the Wellspring.
That's totally fair. Looming 5/5, annoying, sure. Is it going to be a big problem for anybody trying to play whatever John or Blue Eye control? Yeah, for sure. But like, it's not broken.
Yeah, like all I ever wanted to do in Modern was cast vanilla 5 and a 5/5.
Yeah.
Like it's just too sick when like
That's a lot more palatable than my earned opponent drawing 2 cards a turn versus me when immediately I'm trying to like keep up with them.
Yeah, like, the whole gameplay mechanic of playing its bird is like you're just trying to stave off the storm because like eventually they're gonna run out of stuff and like they're trying to race you because they know they're running out of burn spells and it's like, well, I got Bobbler, so you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're an idiot, bro. Sometimes you do Lurrus Goblin God. Get you for 2 right now.
It's so dumb, dude. And you can play this like control game now with Seal Fire. Like I have like 4 Seal Fires in my deck. Like
whoa. Cool.
Yeah. So I just think like maybe Companion is too good and we don't know. I just think that it clearly provides consistency and the direction of repeatable card advantages that the game's already going in. I think that this is a more interesting and skill-intensive way of doing things. And it's getting a lot of flack for the specific card designs, leading to lane games that are not fun to play. But, I mean, they're kind of fun to play right now, but I think in a couple months, if they're not banned already, we'll be sick with that.
I think in Standard, though, like, I'm fine with the card advantage ones in Standard because Standard has, like, gotten to a point where it's not really about card advantage so much as, like, lining up your specific cards correctly with their important cards because everyone just has infinite cards all the time. So I think it's not as much of a problem when, like, in Standard you can, still... Like, you can play a deck like Team Wreck that just interacts well with the cards that matter in the companion decks, and it's still fine. It's just that in Eternal formats, the permanents, like the cheap permanents, are so pushed that, that doesn't really hold up in the case of Loras, right?
I think that's fair. And I also think that is a good point, just to, like, again, illustrate why I think that they need to... I think this will make them reevaluate a little bit the way that they make interaction. Because if the interaction is lagging really far behind, like, Heartless Act is just, like, completely unplayable. That card is really good. Should be.
It's because all the cheap creatures in Standard are, like, kind of shit and replaceable.
Well, and just none of the cards matter. Like, trading one for one just never ever mattered because everyone has different cards. Like, you have to answer stuff, but...
No.
It's just interesting. I think that, like, a card like Censor would be really good for the Standard format.
Heartless Act, and you're just like, why did you do that? And they're like, I had to kill your guy, and you're like, we're even on cards now, you fool. Like, you clod.
You killed my Whisper Squad. Sick.
You killed my Whisper Squad.
All right.